Um, I thought I went live. One second. Let's see. Broadcasting. Am I connected to the right thing?
Hey, how's it going? I wanted to share this video today. It's Academia of Science, and I like what this guy has to say. It reminds
One second. I don't know why it says. Okay, there we go.
Academia of Science.
Sweet.
All right.
This guy has to say.
One second. Oh, I don't know why. Okay. All right. Preston, here we go. And we're here with Nate Fake Book, fellow Facebook friend. He's going to share his journey, what he's passionate about, and just have a simple conversation and normalize conspiracy truth conversations. And I just wanted to share his message and his story and what he likes to talk about. So
Awesome.
get to know you a little bit. So you want to tell a little about yourself? Introduce yourself?
Sure. Thank you, Preston. My name's Nate Whaley. I grew up in Sydney, Australia. I'm 40 years old. I have 3 kids. I have always been looking at the world a little bit different. I wasn't that great at school. I've had about 30 to 40 jobs. I've done a lot of different things. My journey has led me to truth. I've been looking at that pretty much full time for the last 18 months. When I was a little kid, my dad gave me a book called Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. He said that there was a message between the lines, and if you find it, it'll help you with your life. And that's the story that sort of take me towards here.
Interesting. I'll have to write that book down later.
That's cool.
Check it out. Yeah. All right. So, what drives you right now? I mean, of course, right now since 2020, everybody's deep within the same thing. But what would you say before that was your main passion?
I have a very eclectic personality and passions. I'm into astrology, philosophy, science, maths, education systems, structures of the way the mind works, personal development, psychology, things of that nature. I was a personal trainer for about 12 years. I've worked in sales and in business in large corporations. I've got a very diverse background as far as business and stuff. And so the driver for me over the last, probably since I was about 23, was I lost a couple of people to cancer. So I started to really look into health and fitness and understanding cancer and understanding things. And I watched a lot of people that I cared about have a demise and put like hundreds of thousands of dollars into the medical system and get nowhere with it. So that led me on the sort of the start of my truth journey.
Well, it's pretty interesting because everything you just said, I can completely relate to everything you just said. My father had cancer.
Yep.
I went into like a huge fitness guru phase of my life, where it was more so where I'd do it with the people I loved around me. I didn't really monetize it or anything.
Yep.
But yeah, I think the questioning comes from I think many how do you say this? Many of us are searching due to losses or some kind of pain. Like that's
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah.
I find like I look at a lot of human tragedy, and I'm an observer of people. I was a security guard for like 4.5 years in casinos and in nightclubs. I study human behavior and the way people interact and stuff. And for me, a lot of people in life, the first point where they really start to search is with that loss, that grief, something that drives them to a point where they're thrust into opening. Their heart is often a lot of people through school and indoctrination protect their heart and wear a face everywhere. And only as we grow older, we're able to really share our real face. And I think that indoctrination is the thing that keeps everybody stuck and keeps everybody away from their heart. And when something bursts it open like a tragedy, I think it gives people a different perspective and something that they have to change.
Right. Like the life humbles you.
It does, bro. It really does.
Yeah, something has to. It's kind of like in basic training where they break you down and then they build you back up.
Build you back up. Yeah.
I think
And
God does the same thing. Yeah, God.
100%, man.
Yeah,
And there's a saying that your roots have to touch hell before they can go to heaven.
I like that. That's a good saying.
My roots have definitely touched hell.
Yeah, like I was telling you, I lost my son like I want to say about half a year before I found flat Earth,
Yep.
and I no, I would say maybe a year and a half, about a year and a half. But I was bored when I clicked on Flat Earth that day. It was on my birthday, and
Yep.
I was like, you know what? Why not? I'm gonna click on this link, and then boom, it's like my mind was open to it though. I was like,
Yeah.
I was settled and at peace, and I was open to the information.
Yeah. It clears away stuff sometimes, all the unnecessary. You also realize how much redundant shit you do in your life that doesn't matter.
Oh yeah. On a day-to-day basis, the addiction is
Yeah.
what was the first thing that I fought against. So, did you ever have any addiction problems or anything like that?
I've been addicted to different things in my life, but I've been able to I've got a pretty strong personality where I can stop things and put them down where I decide. If anything, it's the addiction to technology would be the thing that I'm really looking at now, especially with my family and my kids, and understanding that we touch our phones way too much.
Yep.
We've even in a house we've just moved into, we haven't put a TV up, and I've noticed in my son's behavior in 3 days a complete transformation in his creativity and the way that his brain works.
Oh yeah, I have rules with my daughter. Like once the wife leaves the house, you have to put the iPad down.
I like.
Yeah. So I forgot what I was about to just say.
We were talking about addiction.
Yeah, the technology. God, I just brain farted. I feel like sometimes social media. I download all the toxicity, and then sometimes I take it out on my wife.
Yeah.
She can sense the energy that I pull from it. You ever feel like you carry it into the world a little bit?
Most definitely. I have this belief that we have, there's like the Aether. So it's the thing between all of us. There's a glue between everything. It's like a primordial soup around everyone. And I feel like even in a digital space, we suck stuff out of that and then put it into the world. Have you ever looked at the scrying mirrors? Have you ever heard of the scrying mirrors?
Mm-mm.
Scrying mirrors is a witchcraft thing from back in the day, and basically it's like a black mirror. And if you look at our phones and our TVs now, they're very similar to what they'd use to scry with. And basically what they do is they'd look into the mirror and they'd get reflections of entities and different things, and they'd interact with them. But it's really interesting now that we're all staring into black mirrors.
You ever watch the show Black Mirror?
Little bits of it, it scares the shit out of me.
Yeah, that's you always have this weird.
I watched the robot
feeling.
dog one, man. That robot dog one was fucking scary.
I've seen a couple seasons, and I couldn't watch it because it gets you all weird inside. All the social constructs that it throws in your face that people run into on a day-to-day basis.
And you know now that like it's actually conditioning, right? It's the future of what they're looking at. Like I was talking to someone yesterday, and they said that Contagion movie even had like a COVID type virus in it. Like it's uncanny the amount of stuff that's going on like that.
Yeah, and then when you start researching, like you said, philosophy all the way back to the beginning of time, even Plato and all them talked about sheep and idiots and morons. That's what I'm saying. Human nature has never changed. That's why I don't believe in evolution or anything like that. We've always been exactly how we are right now. Like
Darwinism is funny as fuck, right? Explain to me. Where along the evolutionary scale is the apes that are still growing to men, and the men that are growing to something else, and the fish that are growing to birds or whatever? You're full of shit. Like the truth is that Darwin stole his information from a guy before him, and Darwin's dad was a Freemason from my understanding, and he just basically bastardized another guy's data and then built something. Even dinosaurs, man. When you go down the dinosaur path, why do we know no paleontologists? Not one. No rock star paleontologists. You know the guy who made the light bulb, but you can't tell me the guy who made T-Rex or found T-Rex. Come on.
So
really, we believe this stuff?
When I first woke up to Flat Earth, I tell everybody this story. I got into a huge argument with a paleontologist. I was sharing all my Flat Earth stuff on Twitter and then tagging Joe Rogan in it. Well, Joe Rogan had this paleontologist come on his show, this big fat guy with a yellow beard. His name.
I think I know the guy.
But we got into a 2-hour-long argument about dinosaurs and Flat Earth. It was I wish I would have saved it, but
the way I look at the truth community now, mate, is that essentially anyone who's denying Flat Earth is a controlled opposition. That's the way I look at it,
Now,
including Joe Rogan.
people can be unknowingly controlled opposition too. I think.
Correct.
Yeah, they don't know it.
Yeah.
They've been brainwashed into
Yeah.
being that way.
Someone like Joe's getting coached on what is to be said and not to be said. That's
for sure. When you watch him and Neil deGrasse Tyson talk to each other, you can tell he knows what he's not supposed to say in front of him, and then he'll like wait for him to like preempt him to say something. You can say
correct.
You say something so I can say something off of it. He does that a lot.
Yeah. And even with Neil, like Neil is the most arrogant, opinionated. Like he said, the shape of the Earth is a spheroid. I'm sorry, but all of your globe model CGI videos that NASA produced and made for you, they all do a perfectly symmetrical ball. So where is the elongated equator? Right? Everything you say has to have. That's the thing about the internet, and even with the media and the governments at the moment, they forget that we've got like history on internet of like 6 months ago. We can look at what you said in a news broadcast, and we know you're full of shit. So it's like there's nothing that adds up now that we're not able to pull apart at scale with the community that we've got.
Well, that's the thing with they use those Third Reich tactics. They don't care about going backwards. They just care about repeating lies forward. Like they will ignore any question you have, and they'll just straw man you another question forward. They don't care about.
And I'm doing a video exactly about that at the moment. And what it's going to be a mathematical equation, and it's going to have like 1 + 3 = 7, and then every other mathematical equation above that's going to be correct. It doesn't fucking matter. You got the wrong number at the start, right? And everyone ran off with this convert thing and everything else like that. And no one actually looked to see, do we have an isolated sample? Do we have things? Do we have evidence of what you're talking about? And now in Alberta, Canada, in Ireland, it's come out. No one's got proof of claim. No one's actually got an isolated, verified sample of the virus.
Yeah.
So that's where we're at.
I've gotten banned for talking about the virus. Have you gotten banned for it yet?
I'm basically banned every other 30 days on Facebook, on Facebook. On Instagram, I'm still live at the moment, which is really nice because I like my audience there. But it's quite interesting. You can't type things. You can't write anything about the PDF files. You can't talk about people that do bad things to kids. You can't talk about things related to any conspiracy that might actually wake people up.
What's your Instagram handle so people can?
It's at the Higher Light Official. The Higher Light Official. It's 3 words, 4 words.
So the higher light, is that like an ascension term or a sun term?
Yeah.
Or?
So basically the idea behind my podcast and what I'm trying to do is I want to bring truth to people. I want to bring them to a higher level. I'm looking for people to level up. I feel at the moment we all hang around in the base 3 chakras a lot. We don't do a lot of speaking our voice and our truth. We don't really feel our heart a lot. So my goal with my mission is to bring men up to a point where they're actually connected to their hearts. They can open their hearts and soften their hearts, and we can allow women to come back into this world and do what they're meant to do. Because I believe the patriarchy's taken over this world pretty hardly. And if you look at anything to do with like healthcare or business or anything, there is no consciousness in it. There's no compassion or care in it. It's completely transactional. It's just brutal.
Now, have you ever had experiences with any like shamanism or psychedelics?
Yeah. So I've experimented with psilocybin mushrooms and Amanita muscaria. I found them both to be very beneficial in my life. I believe that, and DMT. I believe that all of these things are actually part of the things that we're meant to do. If you look at all of the scripture, if you look at the actual history of Christmas, you'll realize that a lot of these things are deeply entrenched in our society, in our life, and we've just been lied to. Like, how can the most iconic mushroom ever, the Amanita muscaria, be everywhere in children's books, iconography,
movies?
It's in video games, it's in everything, right? And it's under everybody's nose, and they don't know what it is.
I was just thinking about buying a T-shirt yesterday that had a mushroom on it that said "Level Up."
Awesome. Yeah, exactly that. So, right, it's that thing, right? And that's the thing. How can this mushroom be everywhere and no one knows what it is, right? And then they tell you, if you ask about it, that it's really deadly, it's really bad. The truth is that mushroom is the parent. It's the one that tells you when you've been naughty or nice. It's the one that gives you all of the Santa stories, right? The reason why Santa wears a red outfit is because of that mushroom. The reason why the priests in the Catholic religion wear that outfit is because of that mushroom.
And the red shoes. A lot of people say they're the pedophile shoes, but they're really, it's a mushroom sacrament. Yeah.
It's the start of it. Yeah, that's right. So yeah, those things have been very, very beneficial in my life. And so has therapy and talking to people and learning about how my brain works. Yeah.
You know how hard it is to tell truthers that it's not a pedophile shoe and it's actually about mushrooms?
Bro, this is the thing. When you become a truther, if you really are a truther, you can't hold on to anything. Even the shape of the earth, as far as like, is it round? What shape does it go once it's not like a fucking ball spinning through the air at 140,000 k's an hour and doing 1,000 kilometers an hour at the axis, right? Once you get past the point of we're stationary, then what? Like if someone came to me and gave me a really, really succinct understanding what the world was, or gave me a way that I could view a map of it, I would take it on and have a look at it. I would pick it up and inspect it like I do data from a scientist about this thing that's going on now or anything else. You can't be attached to any one idea that you have once you break open, because you realize there's so much lie. Everything in the entire system we've got is just like the whole schooling system is based on keeping you stuck. They don't want you to know the truth.
Yeah, I went down the whole mushroom. I just did a DMT experience and recorded it on my YouTube. It was a DMT fumarate. Have you ever heard of it?
No.
It's oral DMT. You take it, and it's mixed with Syrian rue, which alkalizes your body, allows the MOAI to hit your stomach, and then it lasts for about an hour and 20 minutes.
Wow.
Yeah. So I was... But I just, the overall feeling afterwards, I had a feeling of gratitude, thankfulness, love, and at peace with everything. It was essentially, those are the gifts of the gods that they want you, those messages, to be felt throughout your spirit, right? Like,
everything's going to be all right, you know? Like, I find always they're like a warm hand. They're never really there. Like, trust me, you can go down paths and you can have some dark experiences, but that's because your psyche needed that, or there was something there for you to learn. But I find that in general, they're always there to help. And compared to like recreational drugs or compared to like pharmaceutical drugs, there is nothing malicious about anything that comes from this planet.
No, not anything natural, not at all, except us.
Yeah.
So
to an extent, right? Even us, like there may be an element of tribalism in us where like you'll have a little kid fight another little kid over something, over a toy or whatever. But when you think about inherently what we are, it's only that people are tricked into thinking they're on a ball and they're insignificant monkeys is part of the reason why no one really knows who they are and what they are. For me, the mushrooms and everything else help me understand ego and help me get out of and actually destroying it for once and actually feeling petrified before it was destroyed and then after it free. To know that you're not your ego and to know that you're not your body is the most liberating thing you can have happen in your life.
Oh yeah, the first time I disconnected from my body, it was pretty insane. And then the first time you have a third person conversation with yourself, you're like, whoa, what is happening? I'm talking to myself right now. That's a pretty crazy experience. So here's a comment right here on, there's a girl said, I guess I'm boring, but at a young age, a grandmother told me all these things, including mushrooms, LSD, basically anything alters your state of mind is witchcraft. Now, I would also say, like, a lot of these things are for PTSD type scenarios. Yeah, they're for therapeutic reasons. Don't take them if you don't feel like you need to. That's my opinion.
No, so we have to look at it at different angles, right? And to address that lady's question, MAPS is an organization in the States that do a lot of work with psilocybin mushrooms and soldiers with PTSD. Those soldiers have been through every single therapy and trauma treatment that they possibly could, and they've each reached the end of their road. And they start with psilocybin, and within 2 sessions, they've got an 80% success rate with healing these soldiers that nothing else can. And this is sessions where they sit with a guided therapist and they go through the trauma. See, the thing about a lot of these tools that I'd like the audience to understand is they help to unpack the scars inside of you. They help to unpack the trauma in a delicate, careful way where you're not, it's not just thrusting you into the open. Sometimes it is, but sometimes you need that. But for most people, it's about really just uncovering those unconscious things that are happening and why they're stuck where they are. I've found them to be very beneficial. To call them witchcraft, I wouldn't say they're not. To be honest, the conversation we're having right now, if this was 600 years ago, we'd probably be under a barbecue, on top of a barbecue right now getting cooked, right? We are witches, right? Most of the people, your grandma, the lady that just said that, your grandma might have even in a previous life been a witch. Like we come from a lineage of people that if you are telling the truth, generally you're the ones that are persecuted. They burn books for a reason.
Yeah, and now they call them fact checkers.
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
Yeah. That whole play, even that whole censoring now is insanely accurately to what happened in the past.
Yeah, this is book burning. All of this stuff has repetitively happened in the past.
Yeah, it's just the 2.0 version of it.
Yeah, I was telling somebody the other day, well, have you seen the thing where they stick the blood barrier thing on there, and it supposedly makes you sterile? Like when you stick
polymerized chain reaction, that's not a test, yeah. So the guy who invented that thing said that it's not to be used for testing, it's to amplify matter. His name's Carrie Mullis. They amplify above 25 cycles, which means that anything above 25 cycles will give you a false positive. So they've engineered a test that they know is going to do that. The end of the test has potentially either a hydrogel on it or an ethylene oxide on it. Ethylene oxide's been known to be a carcinogen and sterilize people and things. The hydrogel, they have nanotechnology in, and they have things on that goes into people's body and does nasty things. So these are all things that I've learned through experts that I listen to. I don't take any one bit of information from one source. I might take something from Preston, and then I'll go and find it in 5 other different places. I might take something from a doctor like Dolores Cahill, and then I'll go look for it. A lot of my learning happens through intuition. I'm led to something, like Preston said at the start, we were having a chat before the video, that he opened up a flat earth thing on his birthday. And I went and saw a clairvoyant in Perth on the other side of Australia when I was struggling a little bit with I haven't seen my son in 4.5 years. And she told me some certain things about my life. And she said, your life's going to accelerate and go in a direction when you start to practice your skills that you've got inside of you and follow them. And when I got home, there was a YouTube video that I turned on, and the last 3 letters in the automatically generated URL is the letters of my son's name. And I clicked on that video, and in that video, it's 15 minutes, and it's Guy Ritchie talking to Joe Rogan, and he's talking about owning the suit. And what it talks about is when you go into the world, you're in this game. We're playing this game with all these people right now. We are all in the middle of the same thing, and we cannot escape this. And it's unavoidable to resist it. So when you begrudgingly put on the suit and you crank on the tie and you walk out the door, you're not owning the suit. But if you crisp your cuffs, your collar, you put on the jacket, you dress it, you style it the way you want it, and you walk out into the world in your suit, which is your body in essence, you're actually really taking responsibility and ownership for it. And that's what life's about. We're going to own this suit, this meat suit we're in, we're going to own it. We've also got to look at the whole world and realize that it's a game, and realize that we've got to understand the rules of the game to be able to interact with it. And that's what this all is now. It's actually understanding that even if you go down the common law side of things, if you actually understand the birth certificates and what's going on with the slave system that we're in, we're all trapped. And until people actually know that, you don't know what they've done to you. You literally register your kid. When you register something, it's no longer your property. It's somebody else's property. When you register something on a register, it becomes theirs. So we all need to be very mindful of what is actually happening in our world and pay more attention to it.
Yeah, back what you were saying, about the suiting up, and I made a video about something similar. I was in the military, and one of the thing that stuck out to me the most was in basic training was a conversation. Not a conversation, our drill sergeant was yelling at us, and he just said this one thing out of this whole speech that just stuck in my head. Was like, you chose to be here.
Yeah.
And then once I accepted that choice of being here, and then ever since then I've related that to also my life. Like, maybe I did choose to be here, and maybe if I just choose to be here in the moment, at all moments, none of those moments are going to be bad.
That's powerful.
So, and that it's crazy to me how like that one little sentence out of all of them stuck. But even in basic training, that stuck with me, and basic training from that moment forward became easy. It was just, it's like, oh, okay, I made the choice to be
Most
here.
things are, yeah. It's an orientation of your mindset. You can suffer, or you don't have to. Suffering is a thing that is a viewpoint, right? Like, there's people that do certain jobs, or there's people that are like locked in jail, or there's people that are monks or whatever. And to a lot of us would observe and go, that's suffering. But if you understand inside of them what they've got because of that, or the thing that they're trying to cultivate, you'll realize that it's a responsibility and they've shown up. We can fight what we're in, or we can allow it to surrender to it and understand it and move through it with our own intention and our own responsibility for it.
What's your opinion on the zealotry approach of, well, the physical world is Satan's world, and then the spiritual world, if you participate, it's Satan. If you don't participate, it's godly. You get what I'm saying? That paradigm that movement tries to push on you.
Yeah. I feel like there's a lot of division with everything like that at the moment, and even like say something like veganism, right?
Mm-hmm.
I tried veganism. I'm a guinea pig, right? I'll try anything. And what I found, we'll probably trigger some people on this one. What I found was like my body started to disintegrate, right? I healed because of veganism. Like I helped to get a lot of the bad.
Well, plants are medicine.
Correct.
Yeah.
Right. Mm-hmm. And fruit has a lot higher energy level inside of it and electricity level inside of it than say a dead animal. Mm-hmm. But the thing is that our body has certain requirements, and I've found that animal protein in some aspects in a limited and a quality source is important for my body structure, because I found that over last year I lost like 10 kilos. That's like 20 pounds. And I did it intentionally, but I found that I got weak out of it, and I found that my body diminished in certain areas. And I do things like the mineral salts, Dematius clay. I do all the regimes around stuff to help everything be fortified. So it wasn't like I was neglecting one aspect of my nutrition. I was getting protein from plant sources, but it just wasn't the same. And so to go back to that thing about the separation between everybody at the moment, and the duality of life and reality versus the spiritual world, I think they play out together. I think what you said about showing up and being present is playing the spiritual life in the reality.
I get you. I agree. I was at a real quarrel with that whole battle. Should I participate in the devil's playground, or should I not participate? The more you participate, the more you're contributing, right? Like that was my thought process.
I agree with the capitalism side of things. Like, I don't agree with feeding the system we're in right now. I'm very much for living in nature and living the real life, but I don't think that getting heaps of debt, doing what they tell you to do as far as like having a college debt, all that sort of stuff is the right way. Like, I don't think any of those things actually help you. If you look at like an engineering degree versus like a medical degree, in engineering, they'll teach you how to understand things. They'll teach you how to pull things apart. They'll teach you to reason and question. In medicine, they'll give you information so fast that you can't digest it all quick enough. And it's all about memorizing, just crap. And the idea is that they don't want doctors out there that really look at things and analyze things and understand them. They want people that just prescribe and get people through the door. They've got a big debt. They've got to get it done. Engineers can't do that. If you build a bridge and just follow orders, the bridge is going to collapse.
Right. Everything in our society is built through like a military style branch. Like I was talking about compartmentalized. I was telling somebody about the jet fuel hoax. The pilot only knows how to fly the plane. He has no idea about anything else on the plane. He shows up, he goes to the cockpit. He's not asking of what air hoses they're pumping up or the fuel underneath. He's not going to check any of that. Like, he's got his specific job and knows nothing else about what's going on the plane.
He does a pre-safety check, so he'll walk around the plane, he'll check tires, he'll check for oil leaks, he'll check for bird strikes or debris, he'll check for all those things, he'll check that there's nothing obstructing his engines, but he won't go and inspect the fuel. He won't look at that sort of stuff. Even the way that, like, I don't honestly think there's many pilots out there that believe that it's round. There couldn't be, right? Like, if you think about it, he'd have to constantly be adjusting the nose, and then they're like, oh, but the plane flies it, blah, blah, blah. You're going to notice it, man.
Well,
over doing. Yeah, go. You go.
you said something about me about the true east thing, right? Well, you know how the pilots would constantly know they're dipping their nose. Well, the pilot would constantly know they're turning as well.
Yes, correct. Yeah.
Right, and that's what I try to explain to flat earthers.
Yeah.
True east is a straight line. It's not a circle. Yeah. So,
and the same as true north, right?
Right. True north is north for everybody. Mm-hmm.
And when you brought that up, I looked at your Facebook this morning and I saw that, and that was very interesting to me because it challenged my perspective right now, and I was like, fuck, I gotta look at that.
Yeah. So, how long have you been into flat Earth?
Picked it up and put it down over the last 18 months 3 times. I completely converted probably about 14 months ago. What I did was I didn't take it because at that point I realized how much everything in the world was a lie and I couldn't trust anything. So literally I went and bought I lived at this amazing house I just moved from, and it had these big glass windows that you could basically observe the moon the whole way through the night and the sun the whole way through the day. So I bought a Nikon Coolpix P1000, and you can zoom in to like literally the moon fills more than the viewfinder. Like you can actually look at the craters on the moon.
Yep.
And I just observe the moon every
and they're
day.
smooth.
And
they're smooth.
There, right?
Yeah. I told my friend that. He's like, well, they're smooth because it's so far away. Like, but you think the planets are round, but they're even further away.
Yeah.
How does that work? Yeah.
And even looking at a star, mate. If you look at a star, like the first time I looked at a star, I shed a tear. Like I'm a pretty spiritual, connected person, and I'm very in touch with everything inside of me and outside of me. And when I looked at things that I know that a lot of people haven't looked at that close, it blew my mind. Like it really humbled me to a point where I was like, this place is magical, man. And we actually have to care for it and be interested in that way. And you look at all the sacred texts, they all talk about the firmament. Me seeing that amateur rocket hit the firmament and just stop and go from like oscillating like thousands of spins per second to like dead still and not disintegrate, I was like, whatever that hit is very, very interesting.
I saw that video a long time ago. I heard it was fake. I'm not too sure about it yet. So I just don't know. It makes a thud, right? And it's showing it from like a downward perspective.
It's showing you the bird's eye of the Earth. And when it gets to the top, it sort of slows its spin. It still moves a little bit, but it's like it's like it hits the top of a bottle, inside of a bottle. You can just sort of see it just sort of sits there and just doesn't do what it was doing before. Very, very interesting. But the flat Earth, like the water, the way water works, the way astrology works, like even astrology. In astrology, there's the middle line is the Earth line, right?
Right.
On the wheel. So everything in that tells you that the Earth's not round. I mean, not moving, not doing anything. It's a flat stationary plane.
Never thought about that one. There's so much interesting things that I still stumble upon day to day.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I've been obsessed with it for like 5-6 years.
Yeah.
So I'm almost glad that I didn't learn the truth as a child. Because now
it's made it more fun.
Yeah, now I'm like, whoa, like, now I'm looking at the sky every day as it's new, and
it's like Christmas, right? It's like something like that. It's like Santa. It's like any of the mythical or magical things that we've been led to believe. Like as an adult, you actually get to revisit that and feel some awe for things because you're taken aback and you have to sit down and go, whoa, what did I just learn? What have I just unpacked? And how far is that away from what everybody else thinks? Like, I love people that are like, oh, I can't be friends with you because you're flat earth or blah, 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 and all those sort of things. Man, whatever you want. Like, if your belief system is that rocked or threatened by mine, so be it. It's not even a belief system, but right? There's a point where you get to it's a knowing. And knowing isn't belief. I know there is a higher power. I've felt it. I've literally felt it in my life through experiences like we talked about with psychedelics before, with trauma.
Seek and ye shall find has I can literally make that play out today. Or like it's so the fact that exists, you can create your own world in reality shows me that this world was created for me. Like but yeah. Yeah.
What do you think about creation? What's your thoughts on that? Because I believe that we have a very powerful aspect to what we're involved with as far as our attention and what we draw forward. What's your thoughts on that?
I believe we're all creators and co-creators.
Mm-hmm.
It kind of all ties in with each other. The Father Sky, the Mother Earth, and then we are the light of the world. We're the consciousness of the world. Like, people can look under microscopes and observe two different things because they're creating it. They're creating the molecules under it. They've split two atoms apart and put them at maximized distances, and then they were communicating each other instantly at on the other side of the Earth, and they were communicating with these two particles. So I know, because of the seeking ye shall find. I know manifestation, synchronicity, telepathy. I feel like, you think about somebody and then they call you.
100%.
There's all these things that happen and instantly, and it shows to me. But what I know about creation now is due to science. Like, I got drifted away from God due to science, and then got brought back to God because of science. My passion is the personal sun and moon, and so all I do on my YouTube channel is prove that we see our very own sun and moon. So
explain that to me. I haven't heard that bit yet.
Yeah, so I didn't figure you have. So all of my observations show basically how the sun comes to and away from your small circle of sight, because I can only see 20, 30, 50 miles in every direction. Correct. And it comes to, and once it rises, there's clouds beyond the sun. And it's in my little area all day long.
Yep.
When I'm driving down the highway, it follows me, from cloud to cloud to cloud. And it's doing that for everybody.
Yeah.
And then I've gotten so many observations. It's just ridiculous. So say
I find that really interesting. Yeah.
So say 5 p.m. Say it's 5 p.m. setting out west.
Yeah.
The beams will be shining on insides of all the clouds out to your west.
Yeah.
The cloud beyond the sun is in my little area. So 5 p.m. That's 4 time zones to my west. That's 3,000 miles mathematically debunked.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's there. It's in my area.
Yeah.
So, and
the local sun.
The moon's personal too. The moon only illuminates nearby clouds right above your head. It's doing that for everybody.
Yeah.
And
Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, and knowing what I know and observing what I've observed for the past 12 months, I very much relate to that. Like, I say hello to them like they're my family. I talk to them. Like, I drive. When I was driving, I used to drive 70 Ks, so that's heaps. I don't convert miles. But I used to drive a long way, an hour every day for work before. And literally on some days the sun would be coming up one side and I have the moon on my other shoulder. And I'd just check them out and listen and just watch them and observe them and say hi to them. And my relationship with them is very much local. It's not far away bodies. I know that they are at the same height. I know that they are the same size. I know that they move in a relationship with each other where the sun will have its path and continue on. And I've noticed, with that as an example, the summer in east is here, but in winter the sun is over here. And the difference in the range, and I've watched them go the whole way across and start to make their way back now.
Well, the moon is winter driven and the sun is summer driven. So right now this is a summer track for the sun, and this is the moon track. Yeah,
correct. Yeah. So technically where you are in North America, Texas, you're in your summer track and I'm in my winter sun track. So my sun is more detached now. My sun is further towards wherever you are. And that's how I'm grappling with the geography of whereabouts we're individually located on this thing.
Yeah. Yeah, that's why I lean most towards square Earth. Is
square.
Because the
sun. They do talk about the 4 points, right?
Yeah, because the sun rises true east to you, and it north, south, east, west is the same for everybody. So once you know how a compass works, how your cardinal directions work, there's not a whole lot of options.
Yeah, you're running out of real estate.
And when you think of what realm means, I would think Pac-Man type principles. So
Yeah.
if you were in a simulation, say you know that you see your own sun and moon, which I know that I do,
Yeah.
would imply you're inside of a simulation type creation. I would
Hmm.
wouldn't you put that together? So what
Well,
would be out of the possibility of Pac-Man portals?
the simulation part is really interesting because I know I create my reality very,
Mm.
very, very, very much. I the house I used to live in just left. I asked the universe back in January of 2019. Every single day, I'd get up in the morning and I'd read out a line, and it was basically, I live surrounded by trees with a view of the water in a house that satiates my family and makes them happy. And I said it was on 2020, December 2020 was the day that I got it. I got it in like June of that year. So I got it like 6 months ahead of time. And I created like money to go overseas and do courses during the GFC. I created money for my brother's business because he needed to get a loan the next day, and I needed to create money. Yeah, it's physically going out and doing something, but you know how many people get rejected with the house that they want to get? You know how many people don't get the thing they want? A lot of people. And I'm not saying that I always create everything I want, but I take responsibility for everything I create, and I believe that I have an impact on it. So I always try and create better things. I always try and think about things in a way where I'm going to get things that favor me. And when something shows up that I haven't created or I don't think I've created, I observe it and I get passionate about it because the obstacle is the way. And in my life, I found through the grief, through misery, through tragedy, through all the things that I've stumbled across, sickness, they're all things that teach me more about where I need to go.
Nice. So you bought your house in 2020, December?
I didn't buy it. I rented it. I moved to a place and I rented it, but I created it out of thin air. I literally just thought of what I wanted. I was living in a place in the middle of a suburb where I was in a high-rise building, like not very high-rise, but just a small unit. And we're just about to, our son was 2, and we're like, we wanted to get somewhere else. We wanted to be somewhere better. So this place I live at now, I live next to the biggest piece of bush in the world. It's bigger than the Amazon. The bush in New South Wales, there's a bush that stretches the whole way around all of Sydney.
Nice.
Yeah.
Sounds nice. Yeah, we kind of swapped places. I went from the country of Mississippi to the suburbs of Dallas.
Nice.
I bought my house. We got we didn't buy it. We're mortgaged, but
Yep.
we bought it in December 2020, and
Nice.
we're using it as an investment because this area
Beautiful.
is growing, and it'll probably be twice the price when we decide to move out and buy some land back in Mississippi. So that's
Love it. See, I think Austin and Texas in particular, I've heard a lot about that area and the growth of it. And if I was to live anywhere in America, that would be one of the places I'd choose to live. Like, I think the vibe of the people there is very much aligned with the way I think.
yeah, freedom-minded people here in Texas. I
Yeah.
wouldn't say so. Austin's kind of like liberal-minded.
Is it?
Yeah, it's getting there. Now, I would say 10 years ago, not so much, but it's been infested, I would say. Like, there's a bunch of homeless people in downtown Austin. It's
That's crazy.
yeah, or Florida.
So go back to that picture on your wall behind you, that illustration you've got.
Mm-hmm.
You were talking about the moon track and the sun track. Tell me a little bit more about what you know about that.
That would take a long time. So we know, like you're saying, they're the same size. You got one for the winter and one for the summer, and they literally have 3 treks. So they teach you that the sun moves from tropic to tropic season by season, but it stays on each track until the solstice or the equinox. It doesn't slowly go from one to the other. Like when you're on the solstice, if you're facing east and you wake up the morning, you'll notice the shadow on the wall is like 15 degrees difference. It's not. So
when it does jump, it jumps dramatically. I agree with that. The crossover is dramatic.
And they say it's because of light refraction. Like what?
Yeah.
So there's no other light refraction except for this day. Like like okay, whatever you say.
Yeah. Even the NASA thing with the girl who wrote the code they lost. Like, how fucking dumb do they think people are? Like, really? Like, they insult our intelligence, my friend. Like, even that Neil deGrasse Tyson, they insult our intelligence. They make us think that because you didn't study and get a degree or a debt, that you're no longer eligible to read a textbook or understand something.
Or discuss it, or debate it, or
Yeah.
like you have to have an authoritarian perspective. And even if you did have a degree or a master's, they would try to find somebody on top of you to be like, well, you don't know what you're talking.
Yeah.
That's the number one ad hominem. You don't know what you're talking about. Like you're
Yes.
not. Yeah. That when it comes to globe versus flat Earth, that's the first thing they'll say to you. They'll demean you by saying, oh, you're not educated, or you don't know what you're talking about. So, well, I'm like, well, let's observe. Let's discuss.
And they've done the same thing with science, right? If you look at what they're doing right now, it's very much around that. In Australia, like they bashed the quacksine thing for about 12 years. Like they made it so much that.
Did you say quacksine?
Yeah, I said that word.
I like that.
Yeah.
Quacksine.
This is how I get not censored. This is how I get not censored. So they did a thing where they basically use restricted privilege. So they'll say, you can't get a tax benefit. You can't send your kid to a childcare. You can't do this or you can't do that. And then they made it that when there was an outbreak, they'd always make it that person was, those dirty anti-quacksine people are the ones that caused the outbreak. And it's like, well, if your thing worked, then why would there be an outbreak? Like, there's no logic or reasoning to their argument.
Yeah, in Texas, when I first moved here with my mom, she's super into the quacks, and I was like, that's not happening, because I have a son with quacksine damage.
Yes.
Yeah, and she knows that, and she doesn't think it's from that, and that's a whole another emotional argument. But she was saying that, there was a nursery where there was a kid who, we lost you. There was a nursery with a kid who didn't have his quacksine, and he went by an old folks' place and got everybody sick, or something.
Yeah, I know. The thing is that the way the media works now, they never have to show you a person or a case or an event or something, or the thing that did the thing. They'll just make up a person, and they'll go, 47-year-old guy from Colorado. And then everyone's just like, yeah, that 47-year-old guy. There is no 47-year-old guy. They could have made up anything they wanted. If you look at, what you were talking about before about simulation? Have you jumped down the rabbit hole of gematria?
Gematria? When I first woke up kind of to conspiracies, I saw a lot of it around. But there's so many forms of gematria, so I didn't know, like...
Yeah. There's a couple of good guys that do it on the tube. And, yeah, man, like, honestly, some of the synchronicity between the numbers of things that line up is unbelievably uncanny. Like, it's to the point where I know a guy that speaks of it, that they changed the name of a singer's last name, and he has a CD, a vinyl in his house, and the way that the spelling on the vinyl is written changed as well. And he swears to God that this happened. And I haven't heard this guy lie much. I haven't heard him lie at all. So for me, is this a simulation?
Well, he may not lying. He may believe what he's seeing, or
Correct as well, right? And do you know Santos Bonacci?
Yeah, I'm not a huge fan, mainly for my own reasons, but yeah.
Yeah, that's okay. So one thing about Santos that I'll say, he's got an analogy that I like to use, and essentially what it is that you've got a friend and he's got a car, and he tells you it's blue, and you're like, yeah, Bob's got a blue car. And you're like, sweet. So you go around telling your friends, oh, Bob got a new blue car, blah, blah, blah. I haven't seen it yet, but Bob said it's blue. One day, Bob invites you over. And when you go into Bob's garage, you realize that Bob's car's red. But you didn't know that Bob didn't know that he was colorblind. And you had to get to the direct knowledge to know the direct knowledge. So when you went to the red car, you saw it was red and you knew it was a red car. That's direct knowledge. Most of the things that we act on in this life right now are indirect knowledge. It's not something from source. It's not something that we got ourselves. You've spent time observing the sun. You've spent time observing the light reflection.
That's why That's why I started doing my own observations, because I knew no matter what you said to me, if I was regurgitating, resharing a link of YouTube video, that's not me. That's not here. But if I go out and do my own observations, experiments, knowledge, and I'm talking to you from here, you can't argue with my experience.
Correct.
We can discuss it, but you can't argue against it.
And that brings us full circle with that belief versus knowing. You have a physical, tangible knowing, and that's powerful. No one can take that away. Someone can tell me something about what's going on right now? And I'm like, no. No matter how much you can get someone you say is the most respected expert, I've got 50 other experts that contradict that, and they say no. And I believe them over your one guy who's your one guy, because your one guy has an agenda, and none of my people have any skin in the game left. You've destroyed all their skin. You've discredited them. You've made them pariahs in the community, and they're still talking.
I don't make any money off of this, so
no, you can't. You wouldn't be able to monetize it because you talk about what you're talking about.
Yeah, yeah, that's why I feel like my channel doesn't get attention anyway, because of I'm talking truth. I've noticed like my most favorite flat Earth channels don't get attention at all. And I'm like, how is this person?
Yeah.
Like Dell Beyond the Curve, the Scottish bloke.
Yeah.
He's one of my favorite channels to watch, and sticks to nothing but facts and truth. Yep. Beats his drum every day. 20,000 subscribers, going nowhere.
Yeah. Yeah.
So.
Even I don't think Nathan Oakley has much either. Like he's not as
I just
big.
started following him.
And that dude does a live every single day. He debates every single day. And he's like, I started listening to some flat earth stuff, and I got to a point where it's like, I get it. It's not a spinning ball. That's a load of shit. But then I went and looked at some of his stuff, and I was like, I need a science degree, an engineering degree, a physics degree to even understand some of the logic and reasoning that he uses to smash these people out of the park. The way they've learned and understood everything, it makes this spinning ball thing look like childhood math class versus space tech.
Yeah, buddy Chuck's page, I don't know his real name. I saw him doing observations on Facebook and talking about the moon, and he had some interesting ways of explaining his pictures, and I friended him. I was like, blah blah blah. I don't meet many of these people who actually observe and talk and think inside their own head. And he introduced me to Nathan Oakley, and I've probably been watching him a couple months now, a month and a half now. Yeah, I like it. You're right about the whole physics thing. He says some things to me while they're debating and talking. I'm like, slow down. Let me pause this.
100%. I'm going to go research this shit and come back to understand. Yeah. And on that note, like, I think that's a very big part of what we talked about earlier about having that wrong number at the start and just carrying on with shit and perpetuating that forward lie. You got to stop, right? I don't like Scientology, and I'm not a Scientologist. Please don't hang up. But I found that they had one thing that I liked about something that they did, and what that was if you're reading a text and there's a word and you don't know what the word is, don't just keep going. Mm-hmm. Because if you keep going, you're going with an unknown, and you're no longer in a reference point to the entire thing that you're understanding. You've left something behind. So like that Oakley video, you got to stop, because there's no point continuing on when you don't understand what they're saying. You really, really got to get it inside of you to be able to keep going with something and graduate the information.
That's why I think the whole mainstream flat earth theory is a psyup. Because you stumbled upon the truth.
Correct.
Like, you think you just stumbled upon the truth, and now you downloaded it, and you started pushing all these beliefs without investigating it.
Yeah, the YouTube algorithm let you stumble on it. Yeah, that's for sure. And then, but then anyone who really gets into the data gets shadow banned. So you can see that, like, they want you to push out those globe videos that are like, the flat earth videos that make you look like a
idiot,
a person that doesn't understand. Yeah, correct.
Yeah, that's because I started going to the globe channels where they debunk flat earth, and I started listening to them, and they made a lot of sense. Like, correct. I was like, and a flat earther is not being objective when they're listening to the globe believer, because they know it's flat and stationary. So in their mind, they're like, this guy's a fucking liar and idiot, but they're not taking heed of what the person's actually saying as far as science. And like,
correct.
Because some of it's wrong doesn't mean everything he's saying is wrong. And
correct.
He's pointing out legitimate problems that are wrong with your map, and you're not listening to it because you went tone deaf. You're just like, I have the truth. And the biggest part of the psyops is that there's a bedrock of truth in them, right? When they give you this little bit of bedrock of truth to stand on, they can conflate this huge lie for you, because there's one thing you can always reference back and go, oh, but that is right. So that's the whole angle for all the stuff that they try and spin on us is give you a little bit of salt of the truth in a big fat lie. Yeah, when I first kind of woke up to flat Earth and I started sharing the AE map and one of my best friends, I went to him first and he just asked me like, what happens if you head true east from California or true west from California? You won't hit an ice wall. And I was like, you're right. And then from that moment, I had to take a step back from the AE map, humble myself, tell everybody I lied about it, and that's what a lot of people don't want to do is say,
Correct.
"Oh, I got fooled once, I got fooled again, and now I'm saying sorry." They don't want to do that. And
No.
yeah. So.
But that's the relationship with us and knowledge, right? And understanding. We're constantly coming to new ground, right? And that's the point of digesting information and being interested in the world. I think that a lot of people don't really want to know what we know. A lot of people don't have the attention or tenacity for it because they'll get a little bit of misdirection and they'll fall off and they'll feel bad and then they'll think they were wrong and then they'll just give up on it and go back to the globe.
I have two cousins, and one likes these conversations, and then one just wants to wake up, go to school, watch basketball, get high, and go to sleep. He wants his reality to stay the way it is. Yeah, and he's Cypher from the Matrix. Plug me back in, give me steak. I don't care. I understand that the world's a lie, but I don't care. I like my steak. And he's like that. He's just like that.
Yeah.
And he knows everything that I've ever said. Like, he knows about the sun, the moon, he just does not care.
Yeah. What do you think about do you believe in reincarnation?
I believe in, this is kind of like a weird thing. I believe in all mythologies and religions and pieces of them all to be true, right? Like,
Same.
So I think a piece of reincarnation is true. So what I call the earth is the realm of immortal souls, and your soul keeps getting rebirthed here until it can graduate into a higher enlightenment.
Yeah.
And we're just light beings after all, and I can't graduate out of the physical being until I can graduate to a higher light being.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with that in totality.
Okay, cool, cool.
And on that note, do you think some of the people here are non-player characters?
Oh, like Westworld almost, or
I don't know. No, like, I don't know if they're like. What I'm saying is like I feel like some people don't have
like organic or
Yeah, organic. But like I feel like there's an aspect where like you were talking about the basketball, your cousin, right? There's some people that just aren't tuned into waking up. There's some people that just aren't tuned into truth. There's some people that just think it's too much hassle, too much effort. And I wonder in myself, I didn't put the spirit inside of me that was interested in wanting to find all these things. I was just born like this. And so I wonder, are these people not born like that? Or are these people waiting for a crisis to wake up? Or did they not wake up at all? And then it makes me wonder, is everyone here for the same purpose? Because I feel like you and I, there's a synergy with the way we're talking.
You're a chosen
and our belief systems. Yeah, well, I don't want to go and coin those sort of things, but I want to say that there's.
Well, I heard this guy Ethan Hawke or James Hawke. He's one of my Facebook friends. He just started posting a lot about flat Earth, but he posted, "Are you a chosen one?" And I sat and thought about that comment for a long time, and I've been told that by other people, and I would hate to they're back to the ego thing. So if I anoint myself as the chosen one, and I'm okay with that, is that my ego, or is somebody having a problem with that their ego?
That's right. When you said that to me, my ego went, play small, right? My ego was like, oh, I'm not that. I inside of me.
But you are though. Like, but you are a chosen one.
I know. I am a chosen one. I know I am a chosen one.
Because you didn't choose this life. It's just in you.
No, right?
Yeah.
And I denied it in me, and it's probably what they talk about in the Bible about denying God, right? If you deny the chosen one in you, sometimes it's because you are trying to play small. Sometimes it's because you don't want that ego to be inflated and be the thing that you're like, yeah, I'm the chosen one. But really, like, look at it. We're sitting down having a long tail conversation about things that matter to everybody, even the ones that don't know it yet. And it matters because this is the fundamental bedrock of science. It's the fundamental bedrock of the lie. It's what they tell the kids in school, and everyone's going around puppeting the same shit. And the idea is that if it breaks you enough, you'll never be interested in this. But then there's kids that just come through and they've just got this spark. My kids have this thirst to be different. I could just see it, right? And you wonder if everyone's like that or not.
Like there's a gene in there.
I don't know if it's a gene or I reckon it's the light. What you said about light beings. Mm-hmm. I think that there's an oscillation, there's a vibration to it. I've done my chart for like what my life is meant to be, my natal chart. Mm-hmm. And the next 25 years of my life are like a movie. And I know they are because my life's been heading towards that already. Like, and I don't mean a movie in a sense of I'm the main actor or anything. I am, but I feel like my purpose here is, okay, I'm a Aries rising, I'm a Leo moon, and I'm a Gemini sun. My moon balances my sun and my rising because those two things are very aggressive, dominant, powerful things. My Gemini is soft and it's feminine, and that softens my heart and it gives me the ability to be a lion, but also to be the other aspects of life I need to be to learn the things I'm learning. It humbles me. It makes me want to not shine and be the front man, right? So these three things interact within me all the time. And they've taught me so many things about me, and understanding the moon has been a big part of understanding my Gemini. And when I got all those things together and I've put them together, I'm no longer, I don't feel bad when someone thinks I'm arrogant. I no longer feel bad if someone thinks I'm a little bit too forceful with something. I realize they're aspects of my personality and they're there when I want to choose to use them for the right things. If one of them's out of touch, that could be damaging. But if they're all in touch and they're all in tune, they're very beneficial to my long-term journey. And what I've learned is by understanding them and really embodying them, I can use the skills I've got to help people and help others.
Now, where did you do all your astrology research? Did you just get into that, or?
I got into it. Like, I've always been into science. So, like, when I was a PT, I used to use things like Myers-Briggs, the disc profile, and different types of personality stuff with my clients to really understand the psychology and the makeup of why they would get stuck with certain things or not, and why they were really good at things and not. And a lot of my conversations with my clients were more around the mental aspect of their life than it was around the physical. I would help their physical body, but during the helping of their physical body, I'd really refresh their mind and get them in a better place.
See, I've always been just an observer of the astrology stuff. I've never demonized it or like promoted it. I've always read my horoscopes. I've looked up my moons, the moon I was born under. I know I'm a Leo. I don't know too much though. I don't know all the things that you were just saying about.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it seems like they're always accurate, right? Like, so every time I read them, but then you could, then I've always heard you could read anyone's and not know it was what it was, and you could apply it to yourself. They're very vague. Like, yeah.
Reading the horoscope in a magazine or online or something like that, I agree with that aspect of it not being so real. But if you get the time of your birth and you put in all the data and you pull out that chart and you actually look at that chart and you understand that chart, you'll realize there's so much more to you. Like, you can find out what ailments you have in your life, what certain organs in your body will be weakened, what things you need to be aware of. Do you know about the cell salts? Have you been down the path of the cell salts with health?
Mm-mm.
So the cell salts. So our cells have particular compounds within them that help regulate the cells. And when they're not getting the nutrition they need, they go into dysfunction. So there's 12 cell salts that the body needs. And basically they relate to your constitutions. So if you were in the womb for 9 months, there's nine moon cycles that you were there receiving those nutrients from the moon and from your mother. For those 3 months that you weren't inside your mother, you're deficient in those by default. So everybody has a particular astrology makeup and then also a chemical makeup that relate to each other. I had a neighbor who was suffering from cancer, and I asked the universe for some information for her. And it gave me this book, and it was from like 1920. And it was the Zodiac and the Salts of Salvation. And in this book, it talks about how individual types of people will have certain elements relating to their stars. astrology is really interesting. People make it out to be woo-woo, but it's one of the 7 sacred sciences. It's one that they took away, and the reason they want you to take it away is because they want you to think you're an insignificant ape on a spinning ball.
Yeah, so now that I know that I'm connected to my sun, moon, and stars, and that I'm seeing them small, close, and local to me, I've never dismissed it because I've always found it rather interesting. I've always been into mythology, and religions, Greek mythology, paganism. I've always been deeply intrigued by all of that. So, and a lot of the mythologies would always use astrology, and then they would taboo it. And they're like, "Oh, this is bullshit." Like, yeah. So
we're led. Even etymology, right? Etymology is another one that's a huge one for me. So etymology is understanding the meaning of words and where the words originate from, and even phrases. So what you're led to believe, as an example, right? You're carried along a path, you're dragged along a path to believe something, right? You talked about earlier about the square. They talk about the 4 corners of the earth. When you can't stand something, like metaphysics is another interesting one, right? If I've got a pain in my foot, there's something I can't stand. If you've got stomach pains, there's something you can't stomach, right? You're a pain in my neck, right? If even body language relates to that as well. So if someone says to you, if you ask someone to do something and they hit the front of their head, it means they're actually genuinely sorry. If they hit the back of their neck, you're a pain in the neck. So people have all these ways of doing things that they don't know is all subconscious. The further away a body part is from your brain, the less consciousness you have over it. So your feet in a conversation will be pointing in the direction of the people in the conversation you're interested in. If someone's talking to you and their feet are facing a door, they want to leave the conversation.
Oh yeah, I've studied a little bit about physical things. I know, but I studied it because I was led around by my penis for the first 20 years of my life. So I was trying to figure out what.
You did the dating thing,
what women were, their body language, like their energy they were giving. I studied that forever just to know if I was, because I couldn't tell if a woman was interested in me at all. I was oblivious to it. Let's see. Question I've been wanting to ask. What was the first conspiracy you got into? Mine was 9/11. I think that was the first one that I was like, what the?
That was like the solid one. Like 9/11 was the one where I was like, okay, I went moon landing, I went all that stuff. But when 9/11 actually happened, I watched the second plane hit in my bedroom. In my living room in my house when I was living with my parents, and it felt weird. It felt off. Something in my gut didn't sit with me, and it probably took 18 months for me really to get my head around what I thought had happened, and probably another year after that. And then I went down the rabbit hole. And when I realized that Building 7 went without getting hit, I realized that CGI in the videos, I realized lots of different things, the reports from the firefighters in the basement about explosions.
Yep.
And that all opened up to me everything. And then even the plane at the Pentagon, like no fuselage, no debris, all that stuff made me sort of question reality. I was already at a point where I didn't trust the government. I haven't trusted the government pretty much forever because I know what they are. And it's not, I don't mean like, people think of government like it's a person, right? You got to understand it's an entity above itself and it has no physical characteristics of a person. It doesn't have compassion. It doesn't have care. It doesn't have any of that. You might say that someone who works, you might say that someone who works for it does, but it's the same as pharmaceutical, it's the same as military. They're designed on purpose. The same as schooling, it's designed on purpose. None of them have any anything in them for us, is what I've found.
So when I was dropping out of high school on the day of 9/11. I was in the principal's office, like in the counselor's office, staring at the little TV on the stand, old school TVs, you know?
Yeah. The big box.
And I was like, what's going on here? And she goes, and she just still looking through her paper, writing, we're being attacked. I was like, you're just gonna say it like that? Like,
the fuck?
It's like she was a part of it or something. Like,
yeah.
Yo, we're being attacked.
Right.
I was like, how come it look? But I said this to her. I said, it looks fake, like a movie. Like it looks like a movie. I remember saying that in my head. It looks like a movie. and it's always stuck with me ever since. But I didn't wake up to it. I woke up to it to the Charlie Sheen documentary. Have you ever seen that one?
No.
Yeah, he made a 9/11 video in 2008.
Really? I'm gonna look at that. Okay.
Yeah, 2008. He made a good hour and a half long documentary. Me and my wife watched it, and we both sat there like, "What the?" It was about 2008, 2009, and then that's what woke me up. Like, then I started questioning everything. If I believe the lie of yesterday, what else are they lying to me about? Like, what?
That's it. So you're going back to that original number and doing the calculation on the right number to start from there, and that's everything, right? And you got to be humble, like you said, like apologizing, admitting you were wrong. Man, when I picked up Flat Earth, put it down, and then went a full circle on it. Funny, I said full circle. It really, like, my partner, she'd say to me, "But you said that," and I'd be like, "I've got more data now." Like, you've just got to be honest with it. Like, you can't. Even when I take photos with my camera, so I take photos of the moon and the sun with my camera, and and I've actually got a guy. Thanks. I've got a guy in the where is he? He's somewhere over the other side.
I was saying they suck compared to the human eye. Like,
oh yeah, 100% they do. Right? There's no way to even. I'm even amazed that on that camera where zoom starts and what the focal point is of the camera and what it can see in the image versus where my eye sees and how far my eye. It's almost like
it takes like a 0.25 zoom in, but.
Yeah, and your eyes have like this filtered zoom where I can see far away, but I can also see local, right? The telescopicness of my eyes is very interesting.
Your eye has automatic zoom on it, I think. Like something like that you're not actually physically aware of, it's subconscious. But
it definitely has.
Because I also think it has something to do with it being your own light. So the light the camera's seeing is of the light of the earth, and the light you're seeing is of you.
Of your sun,
so
interesting.
Like,
I like your personal sun, personal moon, man. I really got to say that's something that I've enjoyed out of this conversation today.
It gives you vitamin D, it heals you. All plants turn towards it as the sun's moving by. It's obvious we're all connected to it. Like women's cycles before GMO foods, quaxines, they all used to cycle up with a full moon. So that's proof we're connected to it. How does a nuclear reactor give you vitamin D? Like,
that's right.
Like,
that's right.
How does it connect to me? How does a nuclear reactor connect to my eyeball to give me vitamin D through my retina? Like,
right. And every cell of your body needs it. I actually went down the rabbit hole with vitamin D recently because I was just like exploring different things about healing. And you need middle of the day sun. You actually, especially in winter. Like if you live above I think it's the 35th or 39th parallel, you won't get any vitamin D in winter. You actually have to supplement it. There's no way possible that you can get enough.
I thought it was ultra convenient that they told everybody to stay inside and away from each other.
Mate, that's one of the things, especially you studying health as well, you know, like everything they were saying is contrary to health. Like little kids playing together and sharing germs is for health.
Put on a face diaper. Breathe in your own breath.
Let's fucking inhale oxygen that's expired. Yeah, it doesn't make sense. And all the toxins. Yeah. So yeah, definitely 9/11 was probably the one that really opened up. And then ever since then it's been unstoppable. Like once you understand
they're lying.
Once you understand like Blackwater and you understand like Vanguard and you understand ownership of things and you look at it from like I
tell people this all the time though, real quick. Hold that thought. I knew somebody who worked for Blackwater. Like,
really?
My stepfather, he wanted to get me a job. I was in fairly young, good shape.
Yeah.
He's like, "You want to work for the government?" And he asked me a couple questions. He was this real stocky Marine Corps guy. He's like, and he was like, "I could get you a job if you're willing to go on." And I was like, I was too busy drinking and stuff at that time. I was like, nah. But he
probably a good move.
I mean, he was an intense dude. I went to a couple of workout sessions. They did those kettlebell classes.
Yeah.
I never felt so dead in my entire life.
Yeah. Kettlebells are very dense. They're a good way to even everybody out.
Well, have you ever done the classes?
No, I've never done a kettlebell class.
You get like a 10, 15 pound one, and it's aerobics with a kettlebell.
Oh yeah, I know a few.
Yeah.
I followed a few guys on YouTube that do those like at the beach and stuff. And yeah, you basically don't put it down for 30-40 minutes, and it's disgusting. Yeah,
Yeah, it's
love it. Yeah.
I went twice and was like, I'm done. So, we got a couple of visitors. This guy was asking about let's see, I'm going to go back up to the I don't understand why veganism doesn't work for some people. We have many examples of vegan athletes, including weightlifters, to know where it does work. My thought on this is you were a meat eater for 30 years. Your body had adapted to this lifestyle, and then you just can't alter it instantly. I think your story has been repeated a lot because they were also of that lifestyle their whole life, and then tried to automatically just change the way their whole mantra works, and it just there's going to be a space of emptiness that's inside of you after you eat a meal. It's not there. You don't feel full. You don't like. There's a part of you that's not there, I think, but I 100% agree with the ethos of veganism. I go on and off the vegan track all the time. I believe in not killing animals. If you are going to eat free range animals, is the best way, as long as they're happy and
I would prefer to hunt something. Yeah, correct. Yeah,
right. So
with the vegan part, like what I found with it, there's a couple of elements to it. So I definitely believe that we're all meant to be way more vegan than we are. So if you're not like, and that's just the label, right? But what I mean by that, eat plants and fruit predominantly. Then choose what other things you decide to put in your body. If you want to put eggs or something like that, okay, whatever. If you want to put nuts, okay, whatever. Fats, whatever. The good things are what you need to put in. But there's a guy by the name of Paul Chek, and what he did with that part of it and where he went around was, depending on where you're from, right? So there's places in the world where there'll be 3 to 5 months where nothing will grow because it's ice. So people that come from icy habitats generally have more of a carnivore aspect to their constitution than people that don't, right? If you come from a tropical area, you can eat fruit all year. There's no real reason for you to have anything to keep you satiated during those winter months.
You don't need fat. You don't need body fat. There's no.
You don't need nothing, right? Inuit, the Inuits and everyone else like that, they ate the things they ate because that was their stable diet in their region. Similar to you saying there's a personal son, I think we all have a personal aspect to our nutrition.
Right. I was just thinking about this. When we were learning academics in school about America and how it was formed and the Native Americans, they told us that they didn't eat meat except for the dead of winter time when their crops and supply were running out of shortage. Then they would rely on the buffalo. And then and then if it makes sense, you slow down your organs, you build some fat, you put on some weight, you get some strength from the protein, and then you go back to your other life.
And it's cyclical, right? It's a thing like, it's the reason why a few days
seasonal.
a week I won't eat any. Yeah, and I won't eat meat a few days of the week intentionally, like, or even most of the week. Or there might be a week where I might just juice fast. I'm more about being in tune and listening to it than worrying about what label I'm wearing around.
Right. So, I mean, I support all lifestyles. I don't get into the whole vegan versus meat eater argument because I've fallen off. I fall off the vegan train. I support the lifestyle, I support the way, but the argument versus vegan versus meat eater, I'm on the vegan side. But like the part that bothers me about meat eaters is where they act like veganism is a cult when they are self-aware of their culture. Yeah.
That's like the trust the science, don't question the narrative cult versus the can we look at some data together and be adults?
It's like, where does cholesterol come from?
even cholesterol, right? They love bashing cholesterol. Cholesterol fluctuates in your body daily. Free cholesterol in your blood will go up and down based on meals. So if you go and get a test done and they go, you got high cholesterol, what have you eaten today? What have you eaten yesterday? What's in your body currently that hasn't gone through completely? Science only has the tools it has now. As science develops, it gets new tools. But when you don't know the spectrums of light, you think there's one type of light. When you don't know the range of sound, you think there's one type of sound. It's only as we get more sophisticated tools to look at the world, we actually get to understand any of the things that are happening with our physical bodies that we observe every day. We're physically the best lie detector there is. We're physically the best understanding and knowing of what we're meant to be doing if we actually are in tune with ourselves.
Yeah, I was just am caught up on comments. Yeah, have you seen the back to the simulation? Have you seen the preview to that movie, Free Man?
No.
You watch any movies? You're a movie buff?
Yeah, watch a little bit. Yeah, watch a little bit.
It's a movie with Ryan Reynolds, and then
Okay.
he's like a geek, just a normal, average, everyday man. And then he realizes one day by putting on glasses, kind of like the Roddy Piper movie.
Yeah.
He realizes that the world is a simulation, and then he can
Okay.
achieve anything. So they throw this like truth in your face, but they make a comedy out of it.
Yeah.
And then they turn it into like a video game. But I'm like,
Yeah.
I was sitting there watching. I think we went to see Green Knight or something, and I was like,
Yeah.
I was pointing at my wife. The truth. It's the truth.
It's the next one. It's the next one.
So
They're like the crazy guys in the cinema again. Yeah, I had a really good analogy yesterday. So I'm a predictor. So what I do is, like, I predicted with my brother. I had a bet with my brother that social distancing would still be a thing in July of this year, and I did it back in April of last year. I bet him $1,000. I go, I bet you $1,000 social distancing is still a thing.
Now, do you think that's a thing? It's not really a thing here anymore, but people are just naturally doing it.
Well, that's what they wanted, right?
Right, yeah.
Because
It works
with facial recognition cameras. You'll also notice that nowhere in the world they've taken down the signs, just in case, you know.
Well, in Texas, Governor Abbott made it illegal for businesses to make you wear a mask or require a vaccination card. It's in our bill.
That's so good.
So all the signs changed from you must wear a mask to please wear a mask. And so I'm an Uber driver, and I tell people they don't have to, and they're like, well, the app says we still have to. I'm like, it's my fucking car.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Back to the movie for a second. I had an analogy the other day, and what it was I have a feeling like after this reset thing that's going to be coming pretty soon, is that we're going to have a mesh of society where it's going to look similar to like have you seen Pleasantville?
Oh, I love that movie.
Yeah, right.
I was telling my wife about it like 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, everything's like black and white, and this girl starts to feel her heart and creativity and creation, and things start to go into Technicolor. And I feel like the way that they all act when they're black and white, like no one wants to be out of place or out of step. Everyone conforms. Everyone does what they do to fit in. It'll be a mixture between that and Truman, where there's all of us that know that this is fucking batshit crazy, but we don't know what to do about it right now. We're still trying to navigate how we get a better way. And then there's all these people believing that Pleasantville's the right way. And I feel like we're about to step into a mash between the two, where we're these outcasts of society who think differently. And then there's these people that are like, you didn't get your update, or you didn't get your variant jab, and blah, 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 blah. Like,
what do you find as a solution? Because there's a part of me that says I need to love these people, and then there's a part of me that says I just can't even talk to them. Like,
I love them from distance, I think. I very much, anyone who's decided to go down the path of taking the vaccine and stuff like that, I've given them a wide berth from a shedding perspective, but also too from you got to work your own way out now for a little while. You come back to me later, but for now, I'm just going to give you a bit of space. My partner's family have taken it on, and I was a bit shocked by that, to be honest. It's been hard for me. Like, it's hit close to home lately. My feeling is that not everyone comes along for this journey, and we've got to decide where we want to be with this. I want to look at my kids in 10 years' time and know that I did the right thing. So what I'm doing, I'm having intelligent conversations. I'm starting to grow my own food. I'm looking at aspects of my life where if I need to get away from Sydney or away from society for a bit, we've got the tools and resources to be able to do that. And then looking at, particularly like you said, buying some land again and getting away from like the bigger hubs of people. Just because it's better. Like, I like a chilled out life. Like, I'd prefer to observe the moon and the sun and have realizations in my life and make videos and do fun stuff than just conscribe and be in a suburb and do what they do. What's your thoughts?
Same, pretty much.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know what I was thinking about from there. I was gonna ask you. So your girlfriend or
partner? Yeah.
Partner, is she into conspiracies?
Not married. Yeah.
She into conspiracies?
Yeah, she is. So she's very aware. She's very dialed in, and she's very aware. So she obviously at the start of everything thought I was a bit crazy, because when it all started 18 months ago, my first 2 weeks was navigating, is this a real thing? Do I need to protect my family? Mm-hmm. Once I got to the other side of realizing that wasn't an issue, I went down the path of understanding it. And so for a while there, I was like deep in it, like watching the news, watching the numbers, all that stuff. And then I just backed off from it all, and I really put myself back into spirit and felt what I need to do. And so I detoxed a lot from the information. I chose when I engaged with it or not. And then the both of us have been just stepping along the path of understanding different things. And she'll come to me and she'll be like, they said this, what are they doing? And I'll be like, oh, that's the condition this later. And she's like, oh yeah, that makes sense. And so she comes now, even my brother took 18 months, but my brother now is the biggest researcher I know. It's the most rewarding thing, honestly, in all my heart, to know my brother's on this journey too, because I love him. And I didn't want to have to not have the relationship I have with him. And to know that, like, he's actually open to truth. Like, I've chucked flat earth at him and he's like, no. I'm like, all right, let's just play these games. Why would you fly at 30,000 feet where it's going to take you shitloads longer to get around the planet than it is at 5,000 feet? Explain it to me. And he's like, yeah, no, but that's not how it works. And then it's easy up there and blah, blah, blah. I'm like, it's funny. So, yeah,
I've never thought about that.
I don't know. Yeah, right? Why would you make it just circumference?
Yeah, because it's a circumference. You make your... I never even thought about that. That's...
yeah, it's insane. Like,
because I've already accepted it's flat. I didn't think about the circumference. I've almost all thrown away the globe completely, to where I don't even think about debunking the globe anymore. Like, or
no, you don't.
I don't even care. Like, I know that the Earth is flat, and like I just So when I first woke up to flat Earth, I was telling everybody. Much of my journey was the same. I digested all this information. I went into like Jim Carrey 23 mode, and my wife was thinking I was a little crazy, and then I settled down, and she's pretty much on board with me. She lets me do most of the research. She sees things and she'll point it out to me, or like, hey, check this out, but she's not into like research. She lets me do the research, and she trusts what I think. She's very much behind me as a husband, I guess, and what I think. And
yeah, same. My partner's very much like that too, supportive in the element of it. Like, she realizes that a lot of it's to do with my learning and my journey, but she's okay with like supporting that and caring and for the family and making sure that, like, while I'm doing that, everything else is on track. And I really appreciate that. Like, I couldn't learn the things I learn and have a family and do the things I do without her.
Yeah, I at first I was very selfish, I guess, in my journey with my wife, and as I've become more religious and spiritual and learning about the gods and design, we're designed to have a wife that supports and backs you, like. And we succeed and thrive way more with them behind us and supporting us, and to be that system and that Mother Earth system that we need. Like, there's a balance.
It's the foundation, right? It's more important than us. Like, our mission we can't put that flag in the ground unless they're there being the bedrock. Like, there is nothing else to it. And the thing is that the family does create that peace inside of you, and that bigger sense of self where there's something worth working for, right? Like, if I was just a single dude, like, I'd be on this journey, but I'd be volatile to like forces. I'd be volatile to like getting caught up with the law. I'd be volatile to like chasing chicks and getting distracted or doing dumb shit or whatever. But it wouldn't be the same level of
my wife humbles me a lot. She humbles me a lot.
Yeah, man, all the time.
Yeah, somebody was just saying.
She's like, I listen to you. I'm like, yeah.
Somebody just said Messiah complex. I'm not sure if they're talking about us or not. What is your opinion on Messiah complex? Does that go back to that's their ego, not ours, or does that go, or do you think that that's a fair jab? I guess. What would you?
Oh, okay. I'll take that one. I like that one. So, first of all, I look at all feedback as all criticism as feedback. So therefore, I'm not triggered by anyone telling me something about me or not. If I have a Messiah context, that's okay, because I believe in the Bible, in the scripture, it says we are all gods. So therefore, I am a god. Whether you believe it or not, I create my reality. If I choose what I get to do, Therefore, I am, in essence, I am a god of my own domain. Whether it's my own domain is only my physical body or it's outside of me, I believe we are the creator. Where they say we're made in the image and the likeness. What does that mean? I believe we have the same skill set and we co-create this reality. I believe he's observing through us. You said earlier about having a conversation with self. I do this technique called the watcher, and basically if you watch yourself having this conversation, you can sit outside this conversation, you can see both of us. And then if you watch that person watching the conversation, you can see another aspect of yourself. And I did this technique with myself one day. I was in the shower and I realized at the end of it, the only thing that was watching me was God. And it was the day that I forgave myself for my whole life, brother. I was 40 years old. It was a Wednesday night. I was standing in my bathroom looking in the mirror, and I said to myself, you are special, you are all powerful, and you are just like everybody else.
Nice.
And I hugged myself, and I forgave myself for my 40 years of any error I made, of anyone I hurt, of anything I'd done wrong. And I forgave everybody that did the same to me.
Do you ever feel like...
Because I realized it was just God watching.
Yeah. Do you ever feel like... I was thinking about this the other day, about people that I've crossed through in their lives and the bad memories, right? Do you ever think about going to those people and be like, hey, remember that time we were playing basketball in between my house and I threw the ball at you? I'm sorry. Like, do you ever think about just going back and doing those things?
I reckon having time to do that would be a really satisfying experience. I've found whenever you level up with truth or you level up with honesty or you forgive or anything like that, it creates a new space. It's like a vacuum. Kind of sucks the shit out and leaves this bit for something better to be there. And even if it's just a relationship between the two of you or that person's viewpoint of view or vice versa.
Good thing the firmament's there,
right? Lucky for the firmament.
Oh, we'd be sucked out.
Even the stars on the firmament's a really interesting thing, right? Even the
I think you would like a lot of I think you would like a lot of my YouTube videos. If you I could link.
Yeah, I'm gonna get on them. I already looked them today. Yeah.
I got one with.
You got like a 3-hour one. What's that? Sorry, I didn't mean to go.
Oh, those are just. I started a little podcast, kind of what we're doing now. Deceivers and Believers. That's most of the ones.
Nice.
That, me and my friend Finry, we just haven't been able to get it back together. We were wanting to get something started. That was back when I first started my channel again. Like, remember, I took a break from the community, like the whole numbers conspiracy thing. And then I took a break for a long time.
Yep.
I plateaued out at about like 200-300 subscribers. I gave up because of trolls and just there's a lot going on in my life. I decided to focus on my life instead of the truth. And the oil field really grounded my spirit and my toxicity. It made me like not give a shit about life. I was miserable. I was tired. I was making money. I was providing for my family. And then once I got detoxed from that, it came back to me and was like, let's focus on this again. And I've only been at this maybe like a year, a little less than a year, and I've over doubled in subscribers. And I know what I'm saying is the truth. And I know I've been talking about personal luminaries and the personal sun and moon for 4 years, and I haven't had anybody rebuttal, debunk, and the observations have only expanded and got better and better and better and better with knowing it. So
yeah.
It's been quite the journey. I forgot where we were. What was the? We
were talking about the Messiah complex, I think. The God complex.
Yeah, the Messiah complex. If you read the Bible, it says ye are gods and take control of your own life. I don't see anything problem with the Messiah complex, honestly. I think that's a projection. That's how I see it.
Play the devil's advocate part of it, right? Play the devil's advocate part of it. Wouldn't it be better to consider yourself a god? It depends what you think of gods. Are gods malevolent or benevolent? I believe gods are benevolent. Like they're there to. It's like a parent, right? The parent doesn't care whether you play with your car or your bike. Your parent just cares that you don't hurt someone else or don't do the wrong thing. Outside of that, your parent just wants to see you enjoy and experience life. And I
thought about that too.
Yeah, that's what the God is, right?
Yeah.
And that's what we are.
Yeah.
So if you want to call me that, I'm happy to own that title.
Yeah, I don't want to be, I would never want to be called that, I guess, but I'm okay with it because
same.
it's a
Like,
quite
you
the
told me
compliment.
before, you said, even the chosen one. I'm like, I'm not the chosen one. But
Yeah.
like, yeah, like, you know what? Like, at the end of this conversation, I'm going to own it and go, we are gods, and I am the chosen one. We're all the chosen one. It's just whether or not you decide to stand up and be that character in your movie, right? We're all for the hero's journey. Another thing that Joe Rogan thing said with is the hero's journey. I mean, like that's we're all on the hero's journey.
Have you gotten into Joseph Campbell at all? You're into philosophy, right?
I love Joseph Campbell. Yeah.
Have you heard his theory on how all the organs, and if there's problems going on in your life, is because there's a particular problem with an organ, and then all your organs.
I believe that.
Like if you're having a trouble or some kind of argument in life, and it pertains to a particular topic, it pertains to a particular organ.
See, I understand the metaphysical reverse of that, where there's something wrong with the body part, it relates to a problem in your life, but I haven't looked at that from that perspective. I'm definitely going to go down that rabbit hole because that interests me a lot. I love like Ken Wheeler, Joseph Campbell, people like that. Like there are a lot of the people that I've learned off have learned off. So you know that you're getting that real foundational elements to things, like looking at how there's some divinity in this world. There really is. There's some very special people who have channeled some really important stuff. There's a lady by the name of Bibi Bacchus. She's from the States. She was a little old real estate lady in Florida. She was 55 years old. They locked her up for 7 years, wrongly accused of selling a house to a drug dealer. While she was there, she's like, I don't like this. This isn't right. And so she spent 7 years learning around the Uniform Commercial Code and how the world works and the law works. And she wrote a security agreement when they wanted to take her DNA as she was leaving, and she said no. And the security agreement basically said she would take that person for their house and all of their possessions if they tried to rape her and stick a needle in her and take her DNA. And that lady is one of the ladies I'm learning off. And the reason why I'm learning off her is because I realize the world's a lie and how they got us into the lie. And so people like her, she said to me, she goes, I spent 7 years, including my birthdays and Christmas, learning about this stuff so I didn't have to be in this anymore because I couldn't stand that they did this to me and I did no wrong. And I have a saying that's don't F with good people. And I really think that there's a lot of people in the world that have so much beauty and gift to give if they just get out of their own way. So anyone playing small that's in the comments or watching now, just know that like maybe there's more for you. Maybe there's more you can do. Maybe it's even just the way you smile at someone today. Like this mask thing's killing me at the moment for people, right? You know how many people don't take their life because a pretty girl smiles at them? You know how many people like have an interaction with someone and change their mind about bad shit they're going to do because of a smile? And the fact that no one can see people's smiles in my country right now is a really sad thing.
Yeah, somebody said Wheeler's history is heartbreaking. I don't know Wheeler's history. So what's Wheeler's
I don't
history?
know the whole story.
Do you know a little bit?
I don't know his whole no, bits and pieces, but I wouldn't want to comment on it without knowing what she meant in context. I feel like and that's another thing, right? A lot of these people have personal tragedy. A lot of these people have been through bad stuff. You don't necessarily need bad stuff to.
I was talking to my son. You want to get in the shower?
Yeah, you don't need personal tragedy to change. You can actually learn through other people's, and that's what I've tried to do as much as possible. I don't want to have to break my relationship to learn about a broken relationship if I can learn from someone who has already been in my shoes.
Have you ever met a truther that had a perfect life?
No. Every single one I know has trauma. Every single one I know has tragedy. Every single one I know has personal struggles and stuff they're still going through. But what they have a sense of responsibility to something greater than themselves. And that resonates with me very strongly. I would prefer to die on my feet than die on my knees. I would prefer to sacrifice my life than have my kids live a life of suffering that was unconscious and away from God. And what is happening right now is trying to take us away from God. We're not robots. If you alter your body with your genetics, you are no longer a human. You're something else.
Yep. So I'm on the fence with that because I don't think our DNA can be altered. I think there's an adaptation of genetics, right?
Interesting. Okay, yeah.
Like Yahweh means was, is, and always will be, right? So
yep.
So I don't possibly think our DNA could be. Maybe there is more scientific stuff that I don't know about. You know, that the elites,
Yep.
cloning, all that stuff. But I personally don't think the human is untouchable. Almost, I think. I think God made us that way.
I think we're like the planet. Yeah, I think we're like I think as a collective organism, yes. But I think, and as the planet, I feel the same way. Like when everyone stopped moving around as much in the world, the planet started to breathe a bit and heal a bit. And I think that humans did in a sense as well, but I don't think everybody did. I think the people that had detoxified from the media did.
Oh, did you lose connection? Uh-oh. I don't got you anymore. Let's see what we got going on here. Y'all still got me? Oh, might have to call back. We're froze up. You got any questions or what's up, V? So I don't know who Wheeler is though, so I can't really comment too much. I like what he had to say though. Well, that was a hour and 46-minute chat. I had a great time. Maybe he'll come back on real quick. Let's see if I can get him on Facebook. See what happened. Talk to him. Oh, y'all got any questions for Nate? My internet's running real slow too. Come back. Well, I will link all his information below when he gives it to me on Facebook, and if you want to subscribe to his social media accounts, Facebook, whatnot, you can do that. I'm gonna give him another second. Anyway, let me go back to the YouTube comments. All right. Well, I appreciate you guys watching. Hope you enjoyed the conversation. I enjoyed it thoroughly. Thank you, Nate. It was a great conversation. It seems like we have much in common. Like to remain friends and keep in touch. Peace and love.